Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. Today we have a special guest, Sammy Roulette, and she is a certified integrative women's hormone health coach and registered yoga teacher based in Idaho. So, drawing from her own experience with challenging hormonal symptoms and years of feeling dismissed by conventional medicine, she became passionate about uncovering the root causes of women's health issues. So, for over a decade, Sammy has helped hundreds of women harmonize their hormones and manage stress through targeted nutrition and mindfulness. So, when she's not supporting clients, she enjoys yoga, golfing, and outdoor adventures with her husband and 3 kids. So, thank you again, Sammy, for being on the show.
I love it. I'm so grateful to be here.
So, tell us a little bit about you, how you got in this space.
Yeah. We have this identity that we carry. And if you were to pinpoint how I got to this space, it's those life events that kind of shape who we are, what we're doing. And it came as a health crisis for us and our family, my daughter and I, and just a lifetime of experiences that built to this breaking point.
Tell us a little bit about that experience, that health
Yeah.
crisis that kind of made you who
Yeah.
you are and your daughter.
I didn't know at the time, but years of traumatic experiences built in my body. And I did come to that breaking point, right? That piece of you can't pour from an empty cup. I was like, if you were to look that up in the dictionary, there I was. I was trying to be it all, do it all of these shoulds, right? As young mothers that we carry from societal beliefs or conditioning. And there I was with the biggest fake smile that was on my face, pretending that all was fine and dandy, right? But unfortunately, my body had different ideas. And we had a stressful event with my daughter. She had a severe reaction to an immunization that kind of tipped our stress bucket over, if you will. And mom's effort to keep everything bottled in, my body was no longer allowing it. My stress started showing on the outside, my physical appearance, my hair, my skin, all the things. And so it came to this point of I no longer can hide that I'm not okay, that I don't have healthy coping tools. And so it was at that point when we had that stressful experience with our daughter that we went back to the drawing board. All of these things that we've been taught, things that you trust and you just do and you follow because we're taught. We had this challenge the status quo experience. We didn't want that. But we peeled all of the layers back and look at the foundation of our health. If I'm struggling with stress, do I have proper coping? Right? I realized that my years of bottling that was not the way I was managing or it wasn't healthy. We looked at our food. We looked at our just environment in general. We looked at our relationships. We took inventory on this isn't what I signed up for. And there was a point in time when it was like, all right, God, truly, is this it? Because if it is, I'm not sure I want to stick around for this. And it was at that point in time that the breadcrumbs came, if you will, the little nuggets of light that were placed along the path, the questions that I was asking, I would find a resource or I'd find a person or I would find a connection. And that is how we found our way to this space. There's just layers of questions, layers of understanding, layers of desire to know more of how we could better take care of ourselves. Because the bottom of the barrel, it's the bottom of the hill, if you will, was not a fun place to be. And a pretty big breaking point for us.
So major self-reflection, more almost like detective work of figuring out, okay, is this predominantly my environment? Is this my food? Is this my relationship? Like really trying to investigate what is the root cause of all of this. And how long did that take you?
It was a good 2 or 3 years of diving in. And that's where, like you had mentioned, what are the roots of this? And that's where I sat in a yoga class because I was frustrated with conventional medicine, not really showing me on paper, right? Or not really showing me in a lab panel what was going on with me. Severely depressed, anxiety, sent home with, well, looks okay. Maybe here's some birth control. That wasn't cutting it for me. And so being able to unpack that a little bit is actually where I landed in a yoga class. And I started learning about my nervous system, the states of my nervous system, being in chronic fight or flight and not feeling safe in my body from years of kind of this childhood experiences, young adult experiences, or coping strategies through life. And then it just came to this point where, wow, my tool belt is pretty lacking. And when I dove into understanding trauma, that's what took me deep into women's health and understanding layers underneath hormones, layers underneath our health, layers underneath our patterns that don't show up on lab work. Yeah.
So, what about those listeners out there that are like, okay, this really resonates with me. I feel like I'm lost. There's a lot going on. I don't know what it is myself. I don't really want to put in 2 or 3 years. What would you
Yes.
recommend for them?
Bless you for saying that, because that is actually where I stood for a long time in my coaching practice. I said, you guys, this took me years. Doesn't have to take years. We had women, when we unpacked this and could look at the roots a little bit deeper, we're talking 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 months, we could see changes. So when you can stop guessing and start testing things, actually, we can shave off time in this for sure.
Nice. So, can you talk me through if I were your potential client?
Yeah.
What do I do?
I love this. All right. So now in my space, I have worked for years in functional nutrition. All right. So we would do things beyond blood work, doing things like a nervous system analysis, things that we can do with our pulse, our breath. Okay. I've done functional nutrition testing where we actually test tissue, hair tissue, and mineral analysis is really powerful to see patterns. And now I've actually been brought on board by a telemedicine company who I work with a specialized provider that we do draw labs. And it's a very comprehensive panel to look at not just sex hormones, okay? Not just how's your thyroid. We want to know how's Kendra, right? There's a lot of biomarkers that we can see with our body systems. But also, you got me on there. We have the provider who can walk you through those biomarkers. But we got Sammy girl who understands patterns, right? If your liver's inflamed, why? What's the deeper roots of that? Inflammation. If we're seeing roots of inflammation, and we walk you through personalized care based off your biomarkers. And a lot of women, they want to come. Again, we've been conditioned to, here's a meal plan, here's a protocol, right? Maybe even here's some hormone replacement therapy. But if our roots are unwell, meaning our emotional space, our relationships, our environment, this is a holistic animal. And we look at the whole picture. So we walk you through that personalized plan based off of what are those areas in your life, right? What's causing inflammation? So you're right. We do a lot of detective work at first.
Yeah, I love that. There was this time in my life where I thought that I could help people with all those answers with just being a personal trainer. And I was really excited about that. And I realized when I was doing that, I was like, oh, maybe I should be a counselor, a therapist, because there's this huge other part that I can't help them with. And so now I'm doing that. And you start to realize this really needs to be a holistic approach because there's so many pieces happening, so many clues, and it could be in different areas of your life. And I love how you are doing that, not just looking at hormones, like those biomarkers, but also all different things and the why behind it. Is there a psychological reason? Is there an environmental reason? Whatever that is, and getting to the root cause of that instead of just slapping on something like in your case, like birth control, which I keep hearing that sadly.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about those next steps for your clients. Say you've figured out a plan. Do you break it down for them a little bit? What does it look like, that next step?
I love it. So from your biomarkers, from your conversation that we have, we do what's called a wellness wheel. And it looks like a pie chart of the areas of your life. What is this root cause of stress and inflammation? Where is the disconnect? Where is the body not feeling safe? And oftentimes, so we start with that journaling experience. And from there, we create micro goals. So we typically walk women through 12 weeks. Okay. I can't bite off 12 weeks. I'm already overwhelmed. Listen, lady, I'm coming to you for help. I don't need to know that I need to do more. So we create micro goals from these bigger desires, right? And what happens is we work on one habit at a time. From your wellness wheel, if we see that, okay, my nutrition really could make a massive impact here, let's start there. Let's look at your baselines. For women, believe it or not, are you eating enough? Is number one, where we are undernourished a lot of times. And so our minerals, crucial to making functions like cellular energy, we don't realize that, right? And so from years of being taught to exercise more and eat less, we're like, slow down, eat more. And just that habit alone, we're talking the next day, we're waking up with more energy. I've got a client right now. I followed up 3 days ago, and she's, I've never woke up with energy for a really long time. I think that my intermittent fasting was actually not the right thing for me right now. Beautiful. We could unpack that for her. So little habits that build massive moves over time, which in 12 weeks, you are actually a new human because your cells have turned over and we've got you nourished at the cellular level.
No, that's incredible. I know
It's
that
little things, right?
it gives a lot of
Yeah.
people hope, especially when it doesn't have to be huge. And I love how you talk about that. That's something I talk a lot about, is those micro goals, those micro adjustments, and
Yeah.
breaking that down. Like I use the wellness wheel as well, but I love how you say, where's the body not feeling safe? It all goes back to those unmet needs. It goes back to things we've been stuffing for a long time, that slowly building volcano that then can affect us physically over time. I love how we call it disease is dis-ease in the body.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful that you have found this space to help women specifically, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. To find answers when they have felt so lost, and when you did as well. So what about you? So you had to break it down yourself and figure this out in 2 or 3 years. Tell me what that looks like as you started to find answers. What did you do that worked well? And walk us through that a little bit, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a surrender to my higher power because I didn't know all the answers. And I surrendered to be open. Like I said, I was left little breadcrumbs and I was able to leave judgment and shame aside and be open to curiosity. Everything, I was able to remain neutral, open, and curious about what came. I came down the road of yoga. Years of talk therapy, and bless it for what it is. But my issues were in my tissues and I needed to move them physically. So when I got my experience on a yoga mat, I was like, I have never felt that anxiety leave my chest. And so I became curious. Why did that allow that to move? Which took me deeper into study, deeper into understanding this book, that book, this podcast. And I realized I want to know more and I want to help people. And so that's where my certifications came in holistic nutrition and yoga. Not only the student wanting more myself, but having had walked through the fire, testing out things. This worked, this didn't. A lot of movement, mindful movement, a lot of nutrition, balanced eating, ways to cope with my stress. I saw that I could walk through the fire. And the biggest part, I was in a yoga class one day and she goes, take these buckets of water back to the people so they can put out their fires. And I have never been so lit up in my life about, I'm coming with my buckets, people, here I come, because we can do this. It's just the right frame of mind and the right tools. And quite honestly, it's turning everything off of what we should be doing and coming back to trusting you. I don't heal you. I just help you remember how to do it yourself. That is my job. My desire is remember who you are. We are so amazing. So any class you sit in of mine, we get a little nerdy for a minute because I want you to know if we're working on your liver, do you know what your liver does? And we allow it by understanding there's like layers of compassion that come instead of this anger toward a body that's broken or not working. But it's, oh, you were actually protecting me. Thank you so much. I didn't realize. And so, yeah.
I think it's so interesting to go back to that because when I do trauma therapy with my clients, those are the two things I talk probably the most about is that self-compassion and that curiosity. Because without those and letting go of judgment for yourself, that really what you're talking about, that surrender. And I love that you mentioned this part. So many people are afraid to talk about their higher power. But that's a part of the wellness wheel too, right? That's spirituality. And without connecting to that, we're missing this huge part of that puzzle that really helps us become who we're meant to become, helps us become our best self and gives us those breadcrumbs like you talked about. So thank you for speaking to that and that curiosity. And then going back to, I don't think I mentioned it earlier. I was thinking as you're talking about that part of trusting yourself, that intuitive part that we lose touch of over time, which it's sad, but it happens to the best of us, right? I feel every day I have to reconnect to that intuition, that surrender, that trusting of self. So I'm so glad you spoke to that. Any other thoughts about that or things that helped you as you're starting out that journey and you felt stuck, or maybe seeing it in your clients that could help listeners?
Off your phone. There's so much noise. There's so much confusion, right? And guess what? I live there. So I do want you to come on your phone and find me, right? Such a beautiful tool. But take a minute to unplug and connect. Your body knows. And when the student is ready, the teacher comes every time. But if we're so deep in distraction, we lose our greatest tool that our higher power has given us, which is discernment. Right or wrong, does this feel good? So I teach my clients all the time. It's a feel, right? It's how it feels. Is this my most nourishing option? How does it make you feel? There's no restriction where we come from. It's how does that make you feel? Okay, great. And I can't take that intelligence from you. So quite honestly, disconnect for a minute. Go outside, spend time, actually make eye contact with your kids, your family. Make hugs at least 15 seconds long. We just deeply desire to connect. And when you do, you, like I said, you can discern because you can start to feel. You can start to feel it.
I have a story of that just yesterday, actually. I really try not to be on my phone too much, but I feel I'm on it maybe even more than I'm aware of. And my son was jumping on the trampoline and he's, watch, mom, watch all day long, right? And I was like, okay, he knows from experience that I also look down at my phone after 2 seconds. And he was like, no, mom, put down your phone
And watch me.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, he's well aware that adults need help
Yeah.
because sometimes they're just not very disciplined. Another thought I had about what you're saying too is a lot of my clients, this is not something that I personally struggle with, but enough people out there where they are still so drawn to social media. They put all these posts again and again that they are missing the point of living their life. It's more about how they will be portrayed instead of actually connecting. And then they're starting to see these negative effects of living a life that way, often not in congruence with what they really want. We all want deeper connections. And being focused on taking pictures and presenting ourselves a certain way typically is not in alignment with that when we're not being present. I could go down a whole rabbit hole with that stuff, but
No,
I
can
love
I?
that you spoke to that. So getting
Yeah.
off that phone, simplifying. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's coming back to that curiosity. When's the last time you saw life not through your camera lens? When did you
Yeah.
actually see it in real time? And I so deeply, as I'm be a little vulnerable here, this last season, I struggled. We moved back to Idaho and the seasons get me. And that was the first thing I did to stay rooted, was to release distractions. And although I know there's boundaries as we work there, our communication is there, right? There's revisiting of boundaries. And that's actually a massive part of what I'm doing right now, which my social media presence. You'll see I'm my personal space. I have only gone there when it's business oriented in my certain areas, right? But it's back to a curiosity, right? We can be connected to millions of people, but as lonely as we've ever been in our life. And what an interesting thing, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I've done the same thing too, just like letting that go unless it's like business related. And I find now that even when I get on for a second for like Facebook Marketplace or some
Yeah.
other social media platform, I'm actually angry with how quickly, like just seconds, it's calculated like seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm down this other rabbit hole or scrolling here and here. And I forgot the whole purpose of getting on in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just nice to not have that brain clutter anymore as I've walked away from that. I know today's not about necessarily social media or even
Sure.
screens, but it's all tied to that holistic health, but reevaluating things so we can have more fulfillment and more joy in our lives. And that's essentially what you are helping women do. I know it's specifically with health and hormones, but tell us where they can find you and what they can hope to achieve if they come and see you.
Our devices. They actually are a big conversation that we have in the beginning because our program is built off of two massive rhythms that we want women to have. One of them is circadian, which is our seasons, the rise and fall of the sun, because light signals all hormone function. Circadian rhythm, as women, that's our menstrual cycle. Light and devices that at odd times are really chafing to a nervous system that's trying to heal. And so that's actually a big boundary we look at when you're talking about where can we find it, right? Oddly enough, guess what? You can find us on social media, online, right? Invite yourself. When you come on intentionally, I want you to view the people you're seeking advice from through the lens of, do they have a life? Do they lead a life I desire? That's your first discernment. Right?
Yeah.
How do I feel when I follow this person? How do you feel when you find Sammy Roulette at Pepper? That's our program. Our mother program is Salt, Hydration, and Wellness. And we joked as we built Pepper, which is a sister of Salt Hydration Wellness. We joked around. We were at breakfast one morning when Pepper was being built. What should we call it? We've got salt. Let's just call it Pepper. This was just a joke in the beginning when we had this idea to build this space. And then it stuck. And so you can find us at pepp.her. It's pepp.her. And Pepper by Salt is actually our website.
Oh, I love it. Okay. And we'll put that in the show notes as well so they can find you. And so they can come on, and it's like an assessment. You break it down into those smaller goals. And is that one session, 12 sessions? You mentioned like 12 weeks.
Beautiful. Yeah. So we have that holistic piece, which we work with a team, which I love. And it's all concierge. If you live in states that we service. So let's say if you're here in Idaho, concierge service, I can send a nurse to your home to draw these comprehensive labs, these biomarkers that we want to see in the beginning. Then you get to schedule a consultation with our provider who is specialized in women's health, which is a big deal, believe it or not, because a lot are not specialized in menopause. And on that call, breaks down the baby steps. And then I get to say, okay, let's do this. Let's build those habits. And we invite you into we actually have built an app of social media. It's its own place. So your health can remain distraction free if you want it to. Only turn on notifications that you actually care about. And we walk through, you can unlock different levels based on how quickly you're moving. And all of those resources are available to you in our app.
Wonderful. That sounds amazing. And out of curiosity, does insurance cover this?
This is one of the most beautiful pieces that we have built as we've gone, because this landed so deeply on our hearts that we have, in a way, built this while we've been in the air. Okay, this airplane has been built while flying in the air. That's from client feedback, from desires like this massive question: can I use insurance? The initial consultation is cash pay because the comprehensive lab is rarely covered. Some of the biomarkers are rarely covered by insurance. So we keep that initial consultation out of pocket. But afterwards, you can have options of having prescriptions covered by insurance by our contracted compounding pharmacy, which is massive, especially for women seeking hormone replacement therapy.
Mhm.
From there, I will say, if you have a health savings account or a flex spending account, we accept all of those as payment.
Wonderful. That sounds amazing. And I love that people are doing this more and more, taking a non-traditional approach to their health and getting away from this like Band-Aid approach of here's some Adderall, here's some birth control, here's whatever it might be. And instead of getting to the root cause. So I love that you're doing this for women. And I'm so grateful that you're able to come on the show. Do you have any parting mantra or quote or advice for us you'd like to leave with us today?
Just reiterating, kind of one of the biggest things in women as we age is that mental emotional piece, right? And understanding that hormones don't just affect periods, they're actually chemical messengers. So as they decline, and we visit Kendra for our mental health, our emotional health, that we can consider the bigger picture here. And because it's springtime and we're seeing the sun in the northern hemisphere, get outside.
Yeah.
Get some sun. Get your breath a little deeper than your collarbone. I want you to actually expand your diaphragm, because those right there allow a nervous system to feel safe. And that is going to be the root of any body that can heal itself.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I did forget to ask you. So you said you're in Idaho. What other states do you cover?
Yeah. So we cover now, get this off the top of my head. We're in Washington, Idaho, Utah, Montana, Wyoming, and Florida. And we have 2 states in the roster coming that I'm excited about. So that is expanding all the time. That is where we are serviced to offer our full range of care, meaning you're under the care of a provider. Starting May 1st, this is exciting. And Kendra, you're one of the first to know publicly. We have the lifestyle piece to a lot of this. It is going to be available. Our app has expanded to be anyone, anywhere can come and partake of the lifestyle pieces. And that opens May 1st. It is the Salt Life app, and it's based off of a small monthly membership. And I'm really excited about those pieces because by small and simple things, that's our great things come to pass. I wouldn't doubt that we have people simply coming into that space and having massive changes.
Oh, wonderful. I'm excited about that. And
Yeah.
we will definitely put all that information in the show notes so they can check that out as well. And thank you again, Sammy, for coming on the show.
Yay. Thanks for having me, Kendra. What a delight.
Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you, no matter what your house or your hair looks like. I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.